She's talking so fast. Good morning, everybody, or at least it is in California. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you're at. I'm so glad you could join me today. I am joined today by the famous and beautiful Jessica. Jessica, say hello.
Hey everybody, so glad y'all are here today, and we are wondering if you run your ads with a manual or automatic bid.
Manual or automatic bid? Say it isn't so. There's two ways to do this. Are you kidding me, Jessica?
Nope.
No? Okay, guys. So I'd love to see some comments before we get started, and this will be a full session. So you want to make sure you shut down any of those distractions that are around you. You can live without checking Facebook every couple seconds. Isn't that right, Jessica?
Yep.
You're not on Facebook right now, are you?
Nope.
She's not on Facebook. So we're going to get a picture and I'm going to post that where she's not on Facebook. You will be amazed. No, she says I'm not. I'm looking at menus. She's thinking about lunch. No, she's here and she's listening to you guys. So put in the comments real quick, guys. Let me hit my chat button here, or chat. Questions. Tell me where you're from. Wayne Moore. Wayne, I don't think I've seen you in a while. Where you been, man? Where you been? There were today. What is Click to Jam? We are here today from Click to Jam. Okay, so is that your company, Wayne? That's awesome. If so, we are doing good. And Azra, where are you from, Azra? I'm trying to figure that one out. We got Richard Rose from Alberta, Canada. I'd love to know where everybody's from. Ibrahima, and not sure where you're from. I think, well, I'm not going to guess it. Okay, there's Stephanie Mead. Stephanie's not on Facebook. Stephanie, I am so proud of you. Oh my God, Ronald Gaines is here. No tennis today. He's one of my coaching clients. Astra from Lithuania. Oh, I talked to you the other day. That's right. Yeah, we actually talked on Skype. Came up with some cool stuff. Wayne Ibrahima is from France. Very cool. I've got Debbie. Debbie, what's up? Debbie is from Philadelphia. Ibrahima says doing good. Stephanie is from Parker, Colorado. And let's see here. I'm in San Diego. Somebody just asked me where I was from. I'm in San Diego. We have got Finesse from New York. Very cool. Tanya Cassidy. I know she's in New Zealand. One of my coaching clients. Got several of my coaching clients on here today. I don't allow but so many of them, but it seems like they're all on here. Don't you guys get tired of hearing me? We got Patrick Hunter from Louisiana. The home office just got ransacked over the 4th. Oh no, that's horrible. I'm not quite sure what that means. I don't know if somebody broke into your house, but I hope not. Hope not. We have got some super high level stuff today. And you know, oh no, they did break into your house, Wayne. Sorry to hear that, man. It's terrible. Yeah, so it's a setback. We get these setbacks every day, but that's terrible. I'm really sorry to hear that. We've got some stuff today that your brain is going to resist. Okay? Never get tired of hearing you, J.R. Fisher. Jessica, did you hear that? Somebody else does not get tired of hearing me. No, she's around me all the time, so she gets tired of hearing me. But let me tell you why your brain's going to resist today. And I want you to think back when you first got on your computer and it was a computer and you were like, holy crap, this is a computer. Now, some of you have had it your whole life. I did not. I remember in the 90s when I was first starting to get on a computer and the internet popped up and they said we had these things called windows. And I was like, a window? No, I'm just used to a single screen. What are windows? And I had to really wrap my brain about it. And the thing is, when you're introduced to something new, your brain's going to throw up the shield and go, wait a second, you don't understand this. You need to stop. You need to quit listening because this is not something you understand. And you need to kind of back away for a second and just absorb this because at the end of this today, you guys are going to be like super, super smart. You're going to be a lot smarter than the average person. Somebody's laughing out loud there at my comment because these are things that the average person, even the person who advertises every day and does a lot of ads, may not be using. So these are going to be some new things for you. This is higher level stuff. I am coming out with a course on Facebook ads. If you're interested in that, send me a message, send me something, and I'll get you a discount since you were in a lot of these training courses. But anyhow, your brain's going to want to throw up this block today. Don't let your brain do that. So let me jump right in here, and I'm going to get to my first screen today, and it's the weekly coaching call. And this is part 15. This is 15 of these I've done. We're probably going to break down some of these and put these actually into a training module, but this is all about scaling and manual bidding. So this is for those of you, now some of you aren't to the stage yet. I get it, I get it, but this is for those of you who've got a couple winning ads and you want to really, really scale it. And you're not going to be able to do it with automatic bidding. It's just not going to work for you, okay? So these are going to be some techniques that you can use. They're going to be new. They're going to be different. Like I say, most people don't understand them, but by the end of today, you will. So just keep an open mind, okay? You'll be okay. So when you open your ad account, you're going to see a box like this. Now, normally that automatic one is ticked right there. You see where it says automatic? But if you tick the other one, it's going to say manual. Now, as soon as that happens, it's going to have a suggested bid right there, okay? And you may be bidding, $1 or $2, or that may be what you're paying, but it's going to pop up with this manual or the suggested manual bid of 40 bucks. And you're like, well, what the crap is that? So let's talk about this first off, okay? This is going to be a little bit scary. The reason it's going to be scary is because it's going to be more money than you are usually, exposed to as far as advertising, okay? So don't let it frighten you. Just because it's new, don't you remember when you first got on the computer, it was all new and things were different. You didn't understand them. But I mean, you think about how you like cruise around the computer. Now, I remember the first time I got on MySpace. Do you remember MySpace? Anybody out there ever do MySpace? Ostra says she's a newbie. Hey, we were all newbies. We were all newbies on this. Nobody woke up one day and knew everything about the internet and everything. And MySpace I thought was kind of weird, and I never really got into it. But then Facebook came along, and it wasn't so many years ago that I wasn't on Facebook, and now I'm all over Facebook. I'm everywhere. I've got groups, and I've got fan pages, and I've got all these different things in Facebook, and I do live videos. So it's really just about expanding your mind, allowing yourself to accept something new that you don't understand, and that's what you have to do. It's going to be different. It's not going to be what you're used to, and as soon as you do something different, your mind once again tries to put up all these blocks and says, wait a second, this is different. This is not what you've done. You don't want to go in this direction. And your mind's just trying to protect you, okay, from, being scared and different things. And a lot of times people don't want to use all these manual things or these things where you got to get in and start adjusting things because we like it automated. You think about how many things are automated nowadays. I mean, you jump in your car and, when I was a kid, we used to pull out the map and have to, figure out, where it was in the map. And then you have to figure out how long it's going to take you to get there based on how fast you're driving. And now we just put in an address and it says, go this route. I'm going to tell you every single little turn. And in doing so, you don't have to think. Now, we've probably all ran into this before where we're using our GPS and we look at it and we go, well, that's a weird way to go. I wouldn't go that way. I'm not going to do that. And you readjust it because, sometimes automation is not always the best way to do it. It's easier for you and you don't have to think. But, you think of how many young drivers now, when you say, hey, drive me somewhere, they're like, okay, let me turn on my nav. What if they didn't have nav? Could they even get there? I bet a lot of them couldn't even get you to that spot. They may have been there 10, 20, 30 times, and yet they still can't get you there because they've never had to think. And the funny thing is, if you have to think, sometimes you can get even better results. So now that we're all exposed to this automated thing, which some of you on this call may not even be exposed to the automated thing, but somebody says they do remember MySpace. Yeah, that was funky, wasn't it? And it died out. So what this is going to allow you to do is adjust some of these things and get much better results than you could with automated, because automated ads are going to give you okay results, but they're going to give you middle of the road results. You're never going to be able to really scale and do big things. And I'm going to talk about a method later on in this training today that is Tim Bird's method, called the bully method. And he spends millions of dollars, not a month, but sometimes a day, millions of dollars a day on ads. Now think about that. Imagine letting that be automated. You can't. I mean, you got to get there and do some tweaks, right? And like I said, you'll never be able to scale big if you do all automation. You just won't be able to do it. You need to be able to get in there and make these adjustments, and I'm going to show you how to do them today. And you're going to have that high level information. Now, you may not use this today. It may be, weeks or months, or maybe, way on down the road before you ever use this. But when you get to it, you're going to understand how to do it. And it's also going to help you with the automations. It's going to help you figure things out. So the first thing you want to think about is, what happens when you place an order in Facebook? I mean, what does Facebook actually do? You decide, this is my audience, this is my text, this is my picture. Facebook is actually going out there and making all these decisions for you. It's trying to figure out, where do I place these ads, and who's going to see these ads, and how much am I going to spend on them? Am I going to spend most of the money before lunch or after lunch or in the evening, or how much per click? And it has to go through all these things. And when it does that, it uses these algorithms. And these algorithms are based on what's happened in the past, but they may not be applicable to today, right? Or to what's going to happen tonight. So that's why it's really good to understand this manual bidding stuff. So when you enter an auction, and that's what you're doing, okay? Whether you realize it or not, even if you're automated, you're entering these auctions, and there's other people advertising at the same time you are. They're all out there bidding. And they use three different factors, okay? And the first factor is going to be the bid itself, all right? How much of a bid is it going to be? Now, when you do automated, you're saying to Facebook, well, I want to spend 10 bucks a day, so you figure it out. Well, when they've got to figure it out, they've got to figure it out with everybody else's bid too. So you're pretty much in the fray of everybody else's bid. So you're never going to be able to really be ahead of people. You won't be real far behind them, but you're just kind of going to be in middle of the road. The next thing that Facebook's going to look at is your relevance score. Okay, how relevant is this ad? So when they're factoring in, how much they're going to spend, they're going to say, well, I want to look at the relevance score. And what is the relevance score basically? The relevance score is people looking at your ad going, hey, don't show me this ad anymore, or why am I seeing this ad? Or if they're clicking on it, or if they're buying your product, and all these things are going to go into what your relevant score is, okay? And when you're doing these manual bids or even automated bids, they're looking at your relevance score, okay? And then the next thing is going to be your estimated action. Facebook will look based on your bid, based on your relevance score, based on your text and your picture and all that, and they're going to do an estimation of your action. Now that action could be getting a lead, that action could be buying your product, that action could be downloading your PDF or whatever it is, but it looks at these three things and then it makes its decisions. So let's move on. And then it comes up with a total value. And that's how it comes up with what it's going to say is your suggested bid for these ads. So Facebook is actually going to control your bid too. All right. So what are they going to do? They're going to represent your bid. They're going to say, okay, I'm the guy that's going to be bidding for JR, and I think we ought to bid this right now. That's what's happening with your automated one. And then they're going to set the tier you bid in, and we're going to talk about the different tier bids in just one second, but they're going to actually set that. They're going to say you need to be in this top tier, this middle tier, or this bottom tier. And then the market itself actually decides what you pay, because you got all these other people bidding too, and everything just kind of gets crunched in there, and that's the bid that you're going to come up with. So your bid doesn't necessarily mean it's your cost. Now that sounds kind of crazy, right? Your bid doesn't mean your cost. Why doesn't it mean your cost? Well, because you can bid above or below, what that suggested bid is. People don't do manual biddings very often. And the reason they don't do them, and here's the big reason they don't do them, because of the suggested bid. Okay, they go in there and they go to do a manual bid, and let's say they want to bid $8, to get a buyer, and Facebook says, okay, $40. And you look at it and you go, whoa, I'm not going to spend $40. I mean, I need to be at $8 because, I mean, shoot, the cost of my product is 12 or 13. So there's no way I can do that. But I'm going to explain to you in just a second how you can actually bid more than what the cost of your product is and still come out ahead. Now that sounds insane, right? But you can actually do that. And that's what scares away so many people is they'll go to the manual bid area and they go to click on it and they go to decide, let's say their cost of their product's $12 or $13 and the suggested bid is 40. And they're like, well, I can't do that. That's insane. There's no way I would do that. But you actually can. You can actually get ahead doing that. And I'm going to show you how in just one second. So there's actually two types of bid you can do, right? You've got an average bid, okay, where you say, well, I want my average bid to be X. And then you've got a maximum bid. Well, that way you're going to say, well, I want my actual maximum bid not to exceed, let's say $15 or $20, whatever you decide what it is. Now, if you're going with average bid, you're picking on average, I'm going to bid this, but your maximum bid may be way higher than what you want it to be. And sometimes it may be way lower. Sometimes it's in the middle. We're going to look at that in just one second. So when we look at these bids, here's an example of it right here. This is an average bid. So if we pick an average bid amount, our bids could be all over the place. If you notice, it starts off at $34 one day, and then 45, and then 33, and then 54, and then 29. It's just all over the place. But we may say we want our average bid to be $45. Now, in this case here, maybe we're selling something, that our cost is, I don't know, $30 or $35, or maybe it's $50. It doesn't really matter. The point is we're looking for an average bid on our product. Now, the other way of doing this is what's called a maximum bid. We're going to use an estimated budget utilization. This is what Facebook does, okay? It's an EBU. And what we're going to do is we're going to say percent of our daily budget that will be used based on our current bid rate. Okay, now that sounds a little heady right now, but stick with me. So right here we have a chart and we have the same bids here, and we've selected a maximum bid. Now maybe our maximum bid on this chart here, you can see it hit $80 or $81. Maybe that's our maximum. We say we don't want to go beyond that. So we don't set a low bid, right, based on the budget. It doesn't get used. So if we said, hey, we know we could spend $40 or $50, but wouldn't it just be easier if we just say maximum bid's always $5? And I know that way, if my product, I'm, selling it for $30 or $40, I'll always be ahead. The problem with doing that is that if you set this super, super low bid, then Facebook's just not going to allow you to in all the markets, because you have a top market, which they know people are going to buy. They just know it. Those people are always buying. Then you get the middle market where they'll probably buy. Then you get the lower market where they figure most people won't buy. It's going to throw you into that lower market if you're always saying my max bid's only going to be $2 or $1.50 or whatever. You're not going to be able to compete. You're not going to be able to, get a whole lot of sales. And what is that suggested bid? Well, the suggested bid is really just an average amount that's being spent to get your desired results right now. Now, the period of time they don't really release. So maybe that's the average amount that's being spent in the past hour to get that result. But 3 hours ago, it was much lower. So don't let that, suggested bid really mess up your head when you see it. It's just the most frequently winning amount for right now, whatever right now is. Right now could have been 10 minutes ago, right? Which wouldn't have any relevance in the next hour or a week ago. So what is your bidding strategy going to be? What are you going to do? This stuff sounds a little complicated, it sounds a little over your head, but it's not, okay? The first thing you can do is you can look at the Facebook suggested bid, okay, and just go with whatever that is. I would not recommend doing that because really there's just not enough data on that. It may be looking at your product and you may be selling, I don't know, a course on makeup, and there's not a lot of data on courses on makeup right now. So it says, well, I know you're selling your product for $10, but how about we do a suggested bid of 50, which is way, way, way above what you want to do. And it scares you, right? So we kind of ignore that suggested bid and we rarely will go with that. Now, the other form of bidding you can do is called a bottom up, where you start low and you increase your bids, but you got to watch your CPM. Okay, if your cost, and the CPM is nothing more, your cost per exposing it to 1,000 people. You got to watch that. If that gets out of hand, you really want to watch it. And then the third one is the top down, where you start really, really super high and you start to decrease it really slowly to see if you can keep getting sales. All right. And once again, you got to watch that CPM, the cost per, per 1,000 people. And then the last one I want to talk about, and I mentioned this early, is the bully method. Now, the bully method is kind of a bizarre method, but basically what we're doing with the bully method is we're saying we're going to knock every single person out of the market. So let's say, Facebook says, suggested amount is $10, to get a conversion. I'm going to go in there and say, okay, no problem. I'll go $50 to get a conversion. Now, obviously, you're not going to be spending $50 for every conversion, but what you're doing by that method is you're saying everybody else has got a $10 suggestion, so I'm just going to go ahead and do $50 for a conversion. Now you say, well, wait a second, I'm only selling a product for 30 bucks. If I say 50 bucks, I'm just going to lose money like crazy. You really won't, because you're not going to be spending that 50. If they're suggesting 10, right, a lot of your conversions may be 12 and 15. Now, occasionally, maybe it'll hit 40 or 50, but it'd be pretty rare. All you're really doing is just forcing everybody out of the market. You could look up Tim Bird, but he's like the master of this. I heard him talk about it in Thailand in December. But basically what you're doing is saying, I'm going to knock everybody out of the market. And by doing so, I'm going to grab a whole bunch of conversions. I'm going to get a whole bunch of sales, and I'm really going to make my pixel really a good pixel. Because what I've done is I've gone out there and I bought data. I went out there and bought data of people who are definitely going to buy my product, and it's going to cost me some money. And sometimes I'm going to lose some money. But what I'm going to do is really warm up my pixel, and I'm going to get a bunch of conversions. Now, why would I want to do this? Well, with the bully method, where we're going out there saying, I'm going to take every single sale there is, nobody's going to be able to compete with me. I'm going to do several things. So we're going to start off, and let's say they recommend $20. You're going to bid $100, but you're going to max your budget at 500 bucks. So I may do that, and I may only do it for $500, but I'm going to grab a whole bunch of conversions by doing this, okay? And it may not make me any money, but I'm going to get data. I'm going to get a warmed up pixel. I'm going to get real buyers on my list, and it's going to do several things for me, actually. It's going to push out all the competition, and I'm going to get every buyer there is. So I'm just going to go in and buy up the market, okay? Now, you don't want to do this if you're brand new and you've never advertised before, but we've got a lot of conversions on a lot of products now, and we may go out there and do that just so I can grab all the buyers, not to make money. This is not a money-making thing. This is to grab buyers for my pixel. And why would I care about that? Well, I'm going to get the best buyers. I'm going to get the people who are most likely to buy. And why would I want those people? What's the point in all that? Because there's different tiers out there. Let's look at all the three different tiers. You got the first tier, and this is exactly how Facebook, from what I've heard and what's been leaked, this is what they do. They look at three different tiers. The first one is likely buyers. These are people who are almost guaranteed to buy your offer based on their habits in the past. And you're going to get the somewhat likely buyers, okay? Now, these are people who are probably going to buy your offer. And you'll also get the unlikely buyers. So your offer is going to be put in front of all three of these groups right here. Now, what's that going to do for you? Well, you're going to get better analytics. Since your audience now, the people who bought from you are built with these people, your audience is going to be a little bit better. Now, if you were to bid really low and you get some sales, but you really don't get that many of them, and overall you spent a whole lot of money and you really weren't profitable, it's not unlike doing the bully method. All you've done is you've just spent a little bit less money and you got a bunch of unlikely buyers, so your analytics aren't going to be as good. The next thing it's going to do is it's going to make a better lookalike audience for you. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if I do this bully method and I spend a ton of money and I don't necessarily make money, let's say I spend $1,000 and I only make $350, but I've got a whole bunch of buyers in there. When I go to do a lookalike audience, my audience that I've sold to, that I turn into a lookalike audience, and if you don't understand lookalike audience, you got to go back to one of my other trainings. That's going to be a much, much better audience than it would have been if I had based my lookalike audience on those unlikely and somewhat likely buyers, which is what you're going to get if you bid low. But if I do the bully method and squeeze everybody out and I get all the buyers, that lookalike audience is going to be a whole lot better. Okay. And overall, I'm going to get more sales. Now, they may not be profitable sales, but I'm going to get sales. And since I get sales, that pixel is going to understand, right, who's buying a whole lot better. So this is more of an investment in data. It's an investment in knowing who's going to buy from you. And then I can dial all this back and then go back out there into this lookalike audience and sell more of my product for a profit. Okay. Additionally, if you're doing this, hopefully you should have some type of bump offer. You should have some type of upsell. You should have some type of follow up. So, what you're doing is just buying this data and buying these buyers by doing this. All right. So, and you're going to get more data, obviously, which is what we want. You're also going to get more quality buyers in your system. Okay. And that's what we want. Because if you always go with these low bids and these automated bids, you're never going to have these really high quality buyers in your system. Now, let's talk about how you're going to increase these. Like, people want to increase their ads, but they're scared to do so, and they're scared to do so, rightfully so, because if you do this wrong and you start to scale your ads, you're going to notice that all your traffic's going to fall off, all your sales are going to fall off, and all of a sudden your ads are not going to be working anymore. And I've had a lot of people say this, where they'll do ads and they start increasing it. And let's say they had, they were profitable, they were spending, $5 to get a buyer, and they were selling their buyer for $7.50, which sounds really good. But as soon as they increased their ads, all of a sudden their cost to get a buyer went up to $7 and $8 and $10. And all of a sudden they started going negative. And it's probably because they didn't do one of these things I'm going to talk about right now. If you scale your ad and you change your audience at the same time, you're going to have a problem. Okay. You can't do that. And that's what a lot of people tend to do. Or they change their location. Don't do that. You got to stick with the same locations if you're going to scale your ad. Or they start changing their text around. Don't do that. That's going to mess up your ad once again. Or they change the picture. They change that graphic that you see. They change the video in there. These little subtle changes can really destroy, a good converting campaign that you've got going on. The next thing they do is they change the price, or they change their offer. Do not do that. You have to leave all these things consistent. And we use a 20% scaling rule. That's it. You don't want to change it by more than 20%. And here's another thing. You never want to change more than one item in 36 hours. Because what Facebook has to do is, when you change something, they got to go, oh, all right, this ad's changed now. Now, if you notice, when you're in your ad account, anytime you make a change, it's not like instantly approved. I mean, sometimes it can be pretty quick. But sometimes, they say, okay, we've got this and we're going to review it. We'll see what happens, because they want to throw it out there and they want to see what they can do to make this work. And, contrary to what you may believe, Facebook wants all your ads to work. They want every single one of them to work. They want them all to convert. And the reason they want this is because if they do convert and if they do work, guess what you're going to do? You're going to spend more money. Okay. They want your money. So let's look at the next thing. We want to increase our daily budget by no more than 20% in 24 to 36 hours. Now, you may say, well, how am I ever going to scale big if I do that? Well, think about this. If you just upped it 20% every 2 or 3 days, it doesn't take you but a couple of weeks, and you're into some big money. Sit down with a pencil and you'll see what I mean with that. So you can really scale big. Now, the problem a lot of people have with this is they're like, oh, well, did I change this today or did I change this yesterday? I can't remember, especially if you've got, 10, 20, 30, 50, or 100 ads. So in my previous training, I showed you guys how to use automated increases and decreases on your ads based on conversion. And that's in one of my previous trainings. So you may want to go back and look at that. But you can actually automate this. So you can set it up to where you're going to increase a particular ad 20% every 24 to 36 hours based on what it did, based on the conversion, based on the sales. And you can actually automate all that. So I'm going to get down to Q&A now, and I know there's going to be a lot of questions on this, so I left a lot of a room for Q&A, and Jessica is going to be off to the side answering some questions, because I know this is high level stuff, guys. I know it's difficult. I know it's hard to wrap your brain around. So Jessica, do you have questions over there for me?
Yep, I got a few.
Okay. And I did my little Google search there. Why does my husband?
So yeah, people are asking some questions. I've got one. It says, "Isn't manual bidding just for higher amounts?"
Manual bidding for higher amounts. No, that's not true at all. It could be, your manual bidding could be $3 versus the $1 you've been spending. So no, it can be any amount. You do have to have a little bit more budget. This is not for somebody who's never ever had a good ad running. Okay, it's not for that. This is for somebody who's got an ad running and they want to really tweak it and get really good results. And guys, feel free to post in that comment section right there any questions you may have. There are no dumb questions. Okay, I hate when people say, "Oh, I know there's a dumb question." Somebody is asking what CPM is. CPM is the cost to show your ad to 1,000 people. Okay, so that's all CPM is. You'll see that over and over again. And you'll see a lot of different acronyms, cost per click, cost per conversion. You'll see a lot of those things in there, but that's all CPM is, so that's pretty simple. Somebody saying thank you for that, no problem. And that's my nice lady there in Lithuania. So Jessica, what other questions do you have out there? I know I see one, and she's getting ready to read one, but then I saw another one. Can you explain relevance score? Patrick's asking me that there, so I do want to answer that. Relevance score is really how well your ad is resonating with your audience, okay? Now, what happens is Facebook uses several factors there. If people are clicking on your ad, that's going to up your relevance score. If people are buying your product, based on your conversion code pixels that you've got out there, that's going to up your relevance score. If people are clicking on your ad saying, "I don't want to see this ad anymore," that's going to lower your relevance score. If people aren't clicking on your ad, that's going to lower your relevance score. Your relevance score is going to be from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest relevance. If you're getting a really super low one, 1 or 2 or 3, it's also going to increase your cost of running that ad. So, you want to have a high relevance score, but, I've had relevance scores of 5 and 6, which are just kind of middle of the road, and they still did really well. So you don't want to hang, too much of your, ad spend on that relevance score. But if it's horrible, yeah, but I've had ones that are also 8 or 9 that aren't converting. So, it's just really data that Facebook comes up with. That's all that is. I'm sorry, Jessica, I interrupted you. You were reading off one of these.
Wouldn't manual bidding spend my money faster?
Wouldn't manual bidding spend your money faster? It could, but you control it. So, you can say, I want my manual bid to be X, based on this, and you can actually control it. Like if you're getting conversions, if you're getting a certain cost per conversion, you can base it on that also. But it can spend your money faster. It really depends on what your budget is. So if you're concerned about that with a manual bid, you can also set what your budget is. You can say, I only want to spend $40 a day or $30 a day or whatever it is.
Why doesn't everybody do manual bidding?
Why doesn't everybody do it? I guess the same reason everybody uses a microwave and not a stove. Manual bidding takes thinking, it takes effort, it takes monitoring. If you just pop food in the microwave, you set it and forget it, as the saying goes, and you don't have to worry about it. But understand that if you're asking other people to think of stuff for you, overall, it's going to cost you more money in the long run, because you're just bidding along with everybody else. You're saying, well, this is the average, so I'm going to stick with the average, and you're going to end up with average. Now, using the automated is a good idea in the beginning, but after you get good at this, guys, and after you get some converting ads, you're going to want to move over to manual. I've got Miguelina Diaz asking me, how do I practice with choosing laser targeting audience? That's really a good question. And that's, I guess, in another video, some of that audience targeting is. However, audience targeting is important because you want to be able to put your ad in front of the right people. And the way you're going to go about that is, you can use several things, which I've covered in some other videos. You can use audience insights. You can look at some of your competitors' web pages. You can look at their Facebook groups. And you can actually target other people's groups and different interests. So you want to try to target the interests that are surrounding your interests. I hope that kind of answers you a little bit there. That's a short answer to really a long question. Let's see here. Thought that clicks per million. Thanks for clearing that up. No, you're not in the millions, not in that one. All right. What do you have over there, Jessica, for questions?
If manual bidding is the best way to go, then why does Facebook have automatic bidding?
Well, and the question was, if you didn't hear it, why does Facebook have automatic if manual is the best way to go? I think a lot of people wouldn't run ads if they had to go in there and do a lot of this stuff. I think they would think it's over their heads. They would be scared. And Facebook's like everybody else. Everybody wants automation, so they're like, well, if you want to automate it and just make like okay money, here's the way to do it. Just use your automatic bidding, and you don't have to do any thinking. It's like using a GPS. It's not always the best route, but it will get you there. Same thing with automatic biddings. It's not the best route necessarily, but it will get you there, and you can make some money. And if you don't want to think about it, here's your automatic bidding.
Is it better to use an image or video for an ad?
I wish I could answer that question. Question is whether it's better to use an image or a video, and I don't know. I've had images outperform videos when I split test. I've had videos outperform images. I have a video running now that is actually shot from my car through the windshield of a bunch of Marines working out, running past my car, and it has nothing to do with the ad, which is selling a book on how to find products to sell online. But it's noisy, and you hear them chanting as they run by, and it gets your attention, and that's converting, and it's doing okay. But then again, I have another one for the same ad, and it's a picture of the book with an arrow pointing at it. That's it. That's all you see is an image like that. The only way to know which one's better is to split test. Take the same exact ad, the same text, the same copy, and just switch one out for the video, one for the image, and run traffic to it. And one of them will perform better than the other. They just do. I couldn't tell you why.
Should I use stock photos or take my own?
The question is, should I use stock photos or take my own? There's always stock photos you can use. I have found overall they don't perform as well as real photos that I take. Now, the caveat to that is if I'm taking a photo, it needs to be clear, right? It needs to be a good photo. It needs to have good lighting, those type of things. If you take a really crappy picture and you put it up against a stock photo, yeah, stock photo could do better. But if you do a really clear one that looks like it's organic, and what I mean by that is, it looks like it's just in somebody's feed and it's not an ad, it's probably going to do better, because the ones that are stock photos look like photos for an ad, and people just they stand out as an ad, and people don't tend to click on them as much. This is a good question. Laura G says that what about time of day and the days of the week for manual bidding? And once again, Laura, there are going to be better times of day to do this based on country. Like if I'm running an ad and the ad is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's going to do better in the US, right, than if I run an ad at 2 a.m. in the US. So you kind of got to look at your geographic locations there. We tend to think whatever time zone we're in, that's when everybody's looking, but that's not the case, So, I have somebody on here from New Zealand right now. If they're running an ad and they're running it at 9 a.m. their time, well, what time is it in the US? So you got to figure that out. And you can go in there into your settings and you can run your ads at certain times a day. So you want to think about your audience, what country it's going to, and the time zone. That makes a big difference. What is Richard saying here? If I'm not upselling, how can I make money if I'm spending more that I'm selling for the product? That's a good question. All right, so what we're doing in that bully method is we're buying buyers to use later for data. So let's say I buy a whole bunch of buyers and I've lost money on them, but I take those buyers now and I do a look-alike audience, and then I run an ad at a lower cost. That's where I'm going to make my money. And I hope that makes sense to you. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get the pixel warm. We're trying to get buyers for our look-alike audience. So what I do is I take, let's say I get 200 buyers that are real buyers. I can take those now and upload those to Facebook and say, hey, Facebook, do a look-alike audience of people like this. And then what I do is I run my ad to that look-alike audience at a lower cost, because now I've got people who I know are buyers. And that's basically how that method works. It's not to make money on that initial sale. What else you got over there, Jessica? We got time for a couple more questions, guys. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in that box now, in the question box, and I'll try to get to as many as I can. I don't think I'll be able to get to all of them, but I will try.
How much money do I need for my budget?
The question is, how much money do I need for my budget? It really depends upon, how much you want to spend. I mean, you can't go into this with, $20 or $30 and think that you're going to get a lot of data and a lot of sales. It's not going to happen. Especially if you're going into it with the bully method. You're probably going to have to spend in the hundreds. But understand, this is an investment. If you open in a business somewhere, you're going to run ads in the newspaper or something, and you're not even going to know if they worked. I mean, you're really not. It's so funny. I'll open up ads in a newspaper, or I see a billboard, and I'm like, well, how do they know it worked? They spent all this money and they don't even know if it worked. At least with this, you're going to know it works. So I would say you're going to have to probably be in the hundreds to do some of these methods. Richard says, okay, I missed the look-alike session, so I have to learn about that. Yeah, and I did some training on that, Richard. Just go back and look for that in the look-alike audiences. It's really easy to do. Basically, what you're doing is you're uploading a file to Facebook, and when you do this, you have to have 100 or more people per country. So you're going to have 100 people for the United States, let's say, if you want to do a look-alike. And if you have 100 people, what Facebook does is it looks at their email address, it looks in their first and last name, it looks like the state, the country, and then it goes out and finds more people that look like that, and they can bring back 1 million, 2 million people for you, just like that. And then you can target that look-alike audience of buyers that you've already sold, or people that visited your page, or people that opted in, or people that did whatever action you wanted. Jessica, you have more questions over there?
What does it mean to warm my pixel?
What does it mean to warm my pixel? Okay, your pixel, first off, is a piece of code that you're going to be given with your ad account. You only get 1 pixel per ad account. That pixel is going to be put on, your main page or whatever. And then you're going to use conversion codes. Let's say a conversion code for a sale, or a conversion code for add to cart, or whatever. As people go through that process, the pixel itself is going to learn what kind of people went through there. What age they were, where they lived, what their demographics were, what pages they liked. And it looks at millions of data points, and that pixel becomes very smart about people who, let's say, one of ours is survival food, of people who buy survival food, or another one of our pixels is one on people who, want to sell stuff in e-commerce. So it looks at people who would do that. And it has a better ability, I know it sounds really odd, but it has a better ability of going out and finding people like that based on people that have already gone through that. And once again, I have other training on that. You can go back and look at some of the modules on training with pixels too. You have any more questions over there, Jessica? We're running out of time, I know.
Yeah, we are. Let's see. I think you have one question. Does the bid method work with the $5 a day method?
Does the bid method, which I'm not sure which bid method you're talking about. I do see that Diaz had asked that question there. $5 a day is more going to be along the lines of the automatic bidding, because $5 a day, you really can't set higher bids. That is really just to test an ad to see if the ad works, and then once the ad works, then you would move over to this. So the $5 a day method is, 3 to 5 days, see if you get reactions or downloads or conversions to your ad. So I would not really recommend that. It's really too low of a budget to make that happen. And Jessica, I think we got room for one, maybe one more. She says one more, and then I'm cut off.
How often should I increase my bid?
How often should I increase my bid? We want to look at maybe every 24 to 36 hours, and do not increase it any more than about 20%. That's all you're going to want to do. And they may sound like a small amount, but it compounds over the weeks and months. So believe me, you can get up into the hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars if you wanted to by doing that method. Guys, we're running out of time here. Let's see, I keep losing you from people calling me. Not sure what that means. Somebody said Jessica. They just said Jessica with a star. So I guess, Jessica, you are a star because they think you're a star. So guys, get out there, try these methods. Jump in the group if you haven't joined the group. Oh, I forgot to tell you, important stuff. Look in the handout section there, guys. We have a lot of links to different things. You can get discounts on a lot of the softwares that are out there. You can get more information. Just go to the handout section. You can actually download that. So if you want to go to that handout section, excuse me, you can get that information right there. Don't forget to join. What's the name of the group, Jessica?
The Art of E-Commerce Success.
Say it with enthusiasm.
Is that the group you mean?
Yes, well, but more enthusiastic.
The Art of E-Commerce Success.
The art. It's the art of e-commerce success. You guys want to join that? And guess what? We actually broke 1,000 members. And keep in mind, people, that group's not even a year old, okay? And it's got over 1,000 members. It's got hours and hours of training videos in there. Go to the video section. Go to the albums and, pick coaching calls if you want. There's tons of live training video in there. There's questions in there. Make yourself active in there. It's really cool. What happens is if you start posting in there comments and reactions and liking stuff, people start to notice you. And when they notice you, they want to talk to you. When they want to talk to you, you're going to learn stuff. You're going to get more stuff. You got to get involved, guys. Don't sit in the corner back somewhere and just kind of read other people's stuff. Participate. If you can help with a question, do so. Help with a question, post some stuff in there. Let us know what you're doing. You're welcome to post your, landing pages, your sales pages, emails in there, whatever you're doing, post it so we can all, participate. Megalina, I get that right, and probably still didn't get it right, says that they're going to do it. So what's wrong with you other folks? You got to do it. You got to participate. And guess what I'm going to do right now? Can anybody guess what I'm going to do right now? I have something I'm going to do, and people are thinking. Somebody says a light bulb's going on. Let's see here. What are they thinking? What are they? Debbie, you got it. Debbie, you've been here before. Debbie says we're going to lunch. Now, we're going to lunch today. And yes, we're going to lunch, Patrick and Wayne. Yes, it's lunchtime. We're going to lunch in an area of San Diego called Pacific Beach. Now, I picked the Spanish restaurant, and Jessica said, no, I am not eating fried anchovies, and that's just not my thing today. So it was a tapas place, but now that's been nixed. So wherever we end up is a place that she's picked, and she's going to pick a really cool place in Pacific Beach because we're going to be shooting some videos and we're going to be doing some pictures down there. And if you guys follow me, you'll see some of that stuff there. They said save them some. Yes, we will. You just got to show up to come get it. That's the only catch. Okay, so you got to come from where are you at, Diaz? Where are you at? Post in there real quick. I want to see where you're at. I want to see how far you have to travel to come get this lunch. And I see a bunch of people posting. Lithuania is a little far away. So is South Africa. All right. And New York. Oh, you could do that. That's certainly doable. That's a mere 3,000 miles. And Elon's building that tunnel thing that's going to shoot us across the United States, right? Takes like an hour and a half to get here. Something like that. Bakersfield. Oh, yeah, Bakersfield. Wayne, you could do that. Not bad at all. So we're going to head on out, guys. It's been awesome. Don't forget to grab your download there, that download sheet in the handout section. And until next time, I will see you in the group. Feel free to hit me up with any questions you got, and I will talk to you soon. You guys have a great day, great weekend.